Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. So continuing after the video the other day, which went through some of the lineups that I personally use to try and get some SL if I need it, even though I haven't needed it in about 4 years, basically the follow-up video here is to talk about some premiums that actually will help this, and not just the premiums but the lineups around them. Generally, if you want to have a premium which is going to be good for grinding, what you want to find it is around rank 3 or rank 4 for SL, I should say, so around this tier or this tier, because getting into the top tier, yes, you can get something like the pack F86, and yes, it will have a high reward on it, but also you'll generally come up against a lot more skilled players, therefore you will end up just not doing so well, so it's much easier to stick to mid tiers where the rewards are about as high, if not higher, and also you can do a lot better. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some choice premiums from each of the nations, maybe most of the nations, and just kind of pick the ones that I go for. Generally, these will be GE premiums, but there will be some which are event premiums, and also some which are available on the Guardian markets. So yeah, let's start off with the first, but the simple one is probably going to be one of the lowest BR ones. This is the M5A1 5th Armored Division. Now, the reason why we picked this one is not just because of the fact that it is a low tier premium and it's also incredibly good, it's also part of a lineup which is incredibly strong as well. The 2.3 American lineup is really good for doing stuff such as tasks in, and also getting stuff such as authentic decals done, mainly because it's very strong. If you've never used the Stuart before, it's 37mm, has good penetration, has good stabilization, and has an insane reload, so you just basically run around the battlefield like a crazy person, popping people around. And since the Stuart has 120% SL on it, which doesn't seem that much, but if you compare it to some other things at the tier, such as the M5A1 at 75%, the Lee at 90%, and even something like the M16 at 75%, the M8 at 105%, it does pull its weight when it comes to its general percentage rewards. And you can also run it with the Key 43, which has 660% reward on it, which is just insane for a rank 2. So you can play the M5A1, run around like a crazy person. If that doesn't work, pick the second M5A1, run around once again like a crazy person. And then once you do both of those things, you should have enough RP, no, you should have enough SP, sorry, to get into the Hayabusa, then you can start making a bunch more SL. It's a great little way of doing it, and also a really fun lineup to play. The next one is the Cobra King, and the reason why we picked the Cobra King is because once again we can have a really solid lineup around it, and it's not just a lineup which is designed around the ground. You can also bring a ton of really cool air units as well. Unfortunately, we can no longer have the Hellcat in it, but we can still get the trusty 76 with the stabilizer, which can pretty much annihilate anything. So why do we pick the Cobra King? It's really good for RP, for 80 if you compare it to the normal Jumbo, which is the same BR, same rank, and also has 420% on the SL reward. This is nearly double what the normal Jumbo has. So even just by getting this thing and using it, you are nearly making nearly double the amount of SL that the normal Jumbo would make. And at the same time, if you've ever played something like the Jumbo, even in its up-tiered state, it's something that can tank a ton of shells, and every time you get hit, you get score. Every time you get score, you get some SL, so on and so forth. So all you have to pretty much do is sit there and be a pinata while trying to fire your gun at stuff, and eventually you will be able to make a ton of SL on it. You can also run it with the P59 if you have it. The P59, once again, 570% SL, so therefore you can make a ton with it. The P59 is one of the best aircraft at 5.3. My only criticism of it is when I played it in Air Realistic, I was racking up 4 to 5 kills a game, but still losing battles, which is a little bit demoralizing, but it kind of is how it is when it comes to this aircraft. You could also run it with some other aircraft if you want to. certain stuff such as, you know, the I suppose you could run it with the Focke-Wulf if you want that extra SL, but generally the Focke-Wulf is going to be a lot worse than something like the P59. So if you just run this lineup, which is incredibly cheap to use, and run this with the Cobra King as a starter, you'll do fine. Like, you'll make a ton of money. Some recommendations also go out to some other vehicles which are a little bit more expensive than normal, or ones which you can't really get anymore. The King Cobra is the first one, or the Cobra King Cobra, and the reason why we're picking this one is the King Cobra is a wonderful gun platform. 37mm and 412.7mm, has a really good climb rate, is generally a very versatile vehicle, can pretty much do whatever you want. It's also got a 750% SL boost, a cell multiplier on it. That's generally the highest that you'll get. Sometimes you'll see 810%, but as you can see, that's higher than the F-35 Sabre. So this idea that as you go up in BRs, your modifiers get higher is just wrong. You know, the fact that this 4.0 has 750, and then of course Bongs has 750 as well, over stuff like the P-59, the F-7F, the F-35, you have to take that into account. So their multipliers are a lot higher, you'll get a lot more SL with these aircraft. Even some of the lower ones have very high ones, such as the Mariner at 720% SL. So always, you know, as I said, look at that. The next one is for the fleet. This is a simple one, the Elco 80 footer and also the 94 footer PT11. The one which you go for is the Elco. The reason why we go for the Elco is you can build a really nice 3.0 lineup around it. So let's just see if I can find it quickly. I think it's Heat Naval. Yeah, so here we go. So you can build a really nice 3.0 lineup around this. Basically, of the Elco 77 footer, which is really cheap to repair, the Elco 77 footer PT59, and then the Elco 80 footer. All of these are, if you add them together, what about like 6k in repair costs? And this thing has 270% SL, which is, as you can see, a lot higher than its counterparts. And it has the wonderful Thunderbolt quad 20 on the back, which is really fun. These machines are incredibly fun. I've never lost any SL in them, and they're generally something I turn to whenever it comes to events. And you can see right here, I've nearly made $1 million in these three machines. Collectively, I've probably made about 2 million in all three of these machines, and only played, what, like at most 122 matches. It's not hard to do. You just basically run around and just shoot things, and the rest will do it because the repair costs are so low. Now, Germany is the next one. Germany for Naval, there isn't really anything that's going to grind you a ton of SL really well, even, you know, passively. But there are some aircraft when it comes to it. And the first one is the Ju-288. We can't really do anything without mentioning this monstrosity. One of the things about the Ju-288 is that it has 750% SL modifier. As we said before, this is crazy good. Plus, it has 516% RP, so you get a nice little addition on that. It also has access to these two 1800s or two 1000s or 8250s. If you take the two 1800s, you can nuke two bases and then get home. The Ju-288 has engines which are interesting. So if you don't know what they are the Daimler-Benz DB610s. Now what is this? Well, it's two engines which are pretty much not really strapped together, but it is two engines. So this single engine that you're seeing here has the power of two engines, therefore it's technically a 4-engine bomber in a very small area. So it's incredibly fast, has ridiculous acceleration, really good maneuverability, and that means that you can get your bombs off before a lot of enemy fighters have even got to altitude. So you can hit bases and then go home before anything even happens. And this means that you are guaranteed a bunch of SL for hitting the bases, and even if you get a kill, well, you have a 20mm MG151 to be able to keep you alive. Basically, the 20mm is able to do everything that it needs to. It can defend you incredibly well, and even if that doesn't, your general survivability is pretty good. Even though you don't have a ton of armor, one of the things that you'll find from the 288 and all of the fuel is that first of all, the fuel's self-sealing. Second of all, if you get set on fire, normally it'll go out, which is really nice. And also on top of this, with the general machine itself, because it is quite slender, it's not exactly easy to hit, especially when you've got a few guns shooting at you. So this one is what I class as a turn your brain off premium. All you have to do is load it up, go into aerialistic, and pretty much just bomb 2 bases, go back to the airfield, rinse and repeat, do that for a few hours and you'll have a couple million SL. It's kind of ridiculous, actually, how good this plane is when it comes to that stuff. And yes, you can take the 177, yes, you could be more effective, but you ain't gonna make any SL in it because of that crazy repair cost. So just take this and do exactly the same thing. When it comes to the other planes, there aren't really any others for the Germans which really make a ton of SL, which are also crazy good. The only one is kind of the C6, but even then, you know, it's not the best. The 388 has a really high SL multiplier on it. It's also a trash plane. It's one of those where the guns don't aim straight, you know, they're actually angled downwards. Also has some Shrug music if you like to screw with that, and it has some very short radar, but generally it's not a very good plane because of many factors, including the fact that the guns don't arc and you can't really maneuver onto a target. So yeah, you're kind of limited when it comes to that. And there is really only option when it comes to the Germans. Yes, they have a lot of stuff which is really fun, like the 234 when it comes to the ground, the T-34 which is also fun, the 4.0 lineup with the KV-1B, but there is only one lineup which matters, and that is the 5.7 premium lineup of all of these. So you have the Ersatz, the Panzerbefehlswagen 6P, and the Furry Tiger. 420, 420, 420. Rewards, rewards, rewards. 420% SL is really good for ground vehicles. Generally, even if you have a look at high-tier ground vehicles such as the A1A1, you can see 420. Normally, a lot of these vehicles are at 210 as well. You can see that ground vehicles don't really scale like a lot of aircraft do. 420 once again for the M47s. So therefore, you're just at a lower BR, making the exact same SL you would if you were at higher BR. Apart from this time, you can bring a full premium lineup, guaranteeing that you are going to make money. And some of these are still kind of expensive. As we talked about, the 190C, 9,560, 750% SL modifier though. And with the 420s, you are just guaranteed, even if you lose, even if you get one shot, even if you don't do anything in the battles, you can gain money. So yeah, Ersatz is an incredibly good little vehicle. I'll probably do a single review on it, just to basically go through the general ideas of it. But yeah, that's the lineup you need to bring. Now, if you want to just make money from premiums, the Soviets are slightly different because they do have a 5.7 lineup in the T5, the KV-220, and then also the Fong Kong, but it's not as strong. If I'm being honest with you, there is a 5.7 which is also gold as well, the Yak-3U and the Yak-3T. But the aviation side, there are a few options that will make you a ton of money. The first one is my favorite and most overpowered plane in the game, Pokrishkin's P-39. This thing is 3.0, has a max repair cost of 5,000, and has a reward of 750% on it. It's also a rank 3. It's the highest rank 3. It's for some reason this thing is rank 3 when it should kind of be rank 2. If you look at the general BRs of rank 3, this is the lowest BR rank 3, and also if you look at the BRs of rank 2, you can already see some 3.0s in there, and also many of the 3.0s are here as well. So it's kind of odd that Pokrishkin's is at rank 3, but it does mean you get a nice little RP booster. If you want to see how good Pokrishkin's is, all you have to do is look at the stats. 186 kills, 56 deaths, 71% win rate, nearly 3 million SL made. It's an insane machine. It's really fun to use, really fun to play, and if you ever get the opportunity to pick it up, I would say go get it, because you're going to have a wonderful time in it. It also has a bunch of skins that you can get, so you know, you can work on them while going through them, so it isn't just, you know, making a sell, it's also getting some nice cool skins to show off with. There are a few others which I've also got very good high rewards in it, which are kind of easy to play. The Ac-3T has 810% on it for some reason, and it has the 37 and 220s. It doesn't have a ton of ammunition, but at 5.0 it slaps. Like, it's a really fun little plane as well, and you can't turn down that reward. So even if, you know, you only get 1 kill a game, you're making mad money in this thing. With its you know, high velocity 37mm. So I would really say that this is a good pick as well, once again, if it ever gets back on the market. The IL-2M Avenger is also good. It's a turn your brain off good, go for ground targets and don't even think about it. If you die a bunch of times, it doesn't really matter. As long as you are playing this thing, you will make some money, and that's basically it. Same with the Tismar, but the Tismar can actually be as good as a out-and-out fighter, so just use it for that as well if you want to. And then you have stuff, even the MiG-17, it has 780% SL reward, so it's still beaten out by the IL-2M Avenger. The P60A5, even though I don't have it, obviously I played it in other trees, once again, just like the Cobra, very high rewards on it, make sure to go out and get it. For the ground, there isn't too much to say, apart from, as I said, the 5.7 lineup with the 420s. The KV-1E is a pretty good shout. You just have to get shot in it a bunch and you'll make money. Stay away from a lot of these Soviet premiums though. All of these garbage, apart from the I-6, which is okay. The Object 120 is pretty good, but once again, you're only at 420%. As I said, what you're trying to aim for when it comes to these SL modifiers is in the Army, you want to aim for 420, in the air you want to aim for 750, and in the fleet you want to aim for like 250, 220, some are higher than others, some are not. So yeah, that is something to have a look at. Even 420, as you can see, is a little bit higher on the agenda for the naval fleet, but that's also, I suppose, something you should be aiming for. Britain is next, and when it comes to aviation, you have a ton of options to make a ton of money. The Avenger is one to turn your brain off at and just silently farm in aerialistic. Now they added the Spitfire Mark IIA in. It's at 2.7 and has once again that modifier at 750. 2.7 this thing is. You need 1 kill and you will make ridiculous amounts of money in it. I might actually start, if they start doing decals and stuff for just air targets killed, I might just take this thing out just because it's such a beautiful plane to fly. It's also South African. Whoop, maybe not. It's British now. But yeah, the fact is, with the Spitfire Mark IIA Venture, it is just a really fun, nice vehicle. It's flexible, has a great rate of climb. The only thing it struggles with is dive speed, so you do have to be a bit careful, but apart from that, it's okay. Hellcat once again Mark II, only 570% SL, but does have that uses in ground forces, and does have the use in aerialistic as a fighter, and in ground as an attacker/bomber. The Mustang, once again, 750, it's pretty decent, doesn't have the best amount of ammo, does get outturned a lot, and does rate of climb struggle. So instead of doing this, just use this one. It'll just make your life a lot easier. The Spitfire F Mark 9C is one of those which you could take out as well and make a ton of money in, even though it isn't one which is highly known. When it comes to the Army stuff, there isn't any really great premiums that I've used. When it comes to the British, the Iron Duke is probably the best one at 5.3, because you can run it with the Comet. You can also run it with the Challenger if you have a Death Wish, or the AC-4 if you are a true person who enjoys stuff like that. So yeah, the cruiser tank, the Iron Duke, and then the Comet, this is pretty much your SL making lineup. Then what you can do is you can add to it stuff such as the premiums, such as the the Spitfire F Mark 9 for air superiority, the Wyvern if you have it, but it doesn't have the best reward multipliers on it, the Hellcat, which has slightly worse reward multipliers, but generally is better on it. So those are the ones you can go for. Japan, you don't have a lot of options for ground. The only real option you have is the Chino 2. You can take the heavy tank number 6, but you don't have a lineup around it. The Hori prototype is nice, but once again, lineup around it sucks. So Chino 2 is pretty much your only option, and even the lineup around it, you have to take it at 4.7. So the gun's good enough for 4.7, but just understand, it's not the best. Wouldn't really use Japan Army to grind stuff. When it comes to the aviation though, bam, you have a lot of options, and the main one is the A6M5 Co. The A6M5 Co is a wonderful aircraft. I don't think I've actually used it that much, but I have used its brothers, and the reason why I haven't used it, well, I have used the Co quite a lot, never mind. You can see 39 kills, 13 deaths, 750k, but I've used quite a lot of his brothers, like the Otsu, 23 kills, 11 deaths, and then you can see generally 35 kills, 6 deaths with the J2M2, the A6M2, nearly 2 to 1, the A7M2, nearly 2 to 1. Like, the zeros are really good in this game, and the A6M5 Co, because it has the 750% and also a low repair cost, you are guaranteed to make money on it. Now, the way that you get this thing is you actually get it through a Pacific pack, which I think is actually on the... Eh? Uh-oh. Oh, no, it's fine. So you can actually do it, you can actually get it through a Pacific pack, and then what you can see is you actually get some cool historical campaigns with it, and you can actually get a bit of SL and a bit of RP, but that's not really why you play it. You play it just for a little bit of fun and a little bit of interest. I think what I might actually do on the channel is I might actually play through one of these, maybe on Twitch, and then I might actually upload it to the YouTube just to kind of show you what these are like, because they're definitely worth it. And normally those packs, like the Pacific packs, they go on sale for like $5 to $10. Very much worth a pickup, especially just for the A6M5 Co, a great grinder from the aviation point of view and 4SL overall. Fleet-wise, there isn't too much either for Japan. The Udachi is pretty good, but once again, it's kind of outclassed by some of its brothers, like the Yugamo, but it's okay. Like, it has 390 SL on it, but it's nothing to really write home about. You just want to stick to the aircraft. China has literally no premiums, which are good for grinding SL. And then when it comes to the planes, what a surprise, the A6M2, it's back again. It's pretty good for grinding SL. The Ki 84 Co is also very good at grinding SL. You can see 780%, and if you want to see what the Ki 84 Co can do, all I have to do is show you this. 78 to 48, not a great win rate, but this is on a non-premium Ki 84 Co. 67 battles, I made 1.25 mil. So imagine if that was premium. The Ki 85 Co is a wonderful machine, very fun to use. It's the only option you really have for China to make SL. I would look at other nations, but if you are going to pick China, that's the one to go for. When it comes to the aviation for Italy, the two to pick out is the G55S. It doesn't have a very high SL modifier on it, but it is an insane plane. The G55S, along with pretty much all of the Italian planes of rank 2 to 3 to 4 when it comes to their fighters, is a very strong aircraft. There's not really a lot you can do against it, and even though it has the low SL, it's very, very good. If you want to look for, wow, oh, boom, there we go. Much better. So the G55S has 750%. Make sure to pick it up in stores near you, because this thing trounces and it does a ton of damage. The G2 is at 660, Romania 630, Mark 5B Trop 540. All of these are good in their different ways. The Romanian is good in ground. G2 is good if you enjoy BF-109s. They generally have pretty good rewards on them, and also this one has some pretty good skins as well. So this is the standard one, and then you also have the Romanian Air Force camo. You get both of these stock, and hopefully this one comes back so people can pick it up. The G55S, though, is just a monster of the sky. So pick this up. You can even use a torpedo if you really feel like it. But yeah, don't bother. Just go out and kill aircraft. When it comes to the ground stuff for Italy, there isn't really a lot to offer in terms of SL. You can see, like, a lot of people may say, oh, well, the Orbil's really good, but look at that modifier. Only 390, not good enough. The M26 is a little bit better at 420, you know, but still, the M26 is not exactly the easiest vehicle to use, so I would stay away from the Italians when it comes to grinding SL for the ground. When it comes to France, the B1 Tur is boss. It only has a 90% to sell modifier, but you're going to get shot a ton, because this thing is nearly impenetrable unless the Swedish are running around or unless certain American vehicles are running around. So you do the Tur, the BIS, and you just keep getting shot over and over and over again. And since you have low repair costs and pretty high fire rates on the 47, if you keep them firing over and over and over again, then you'll do a ton of damage, you'll get shot a ton, and you'll make a ton of SL. If we have a look at higher ranks, the Super is at 420, which is kind of nice. The Dauphine is also at 420, and you can run it with stuff like the ARL-44. But if I'm honest, I wouldn't really pick these, just because they're kind of awkward vehicles to use, apart from maybe the Dauphine. But the Dauphine has such a high sunk cost at 6,000. I would rather just say get the B1 Tur and do it that way. Aviation-wise, the only one to really go for, if it's available, is the Yak 3. The reason for this is, once again, modifier 810%. You can make so much money with this thing with its repair cost. The Yak 90, you can see it has a much lower modifier on it, so therefore we go for the Yak 3, and, you know, you dominate in it. So it will also help you get past the trash, which is rank 2, 3, and 4 of French aviation. And the last but not least is Sweden. Now, what do we do with Sweden? We got the J29, the Piramirski, the Morco Marine, and also Jacobi's J8A. Now, we stay away from the J89D because it's too high BR. Even though it does have some nice secondaries on it, it doesn't have missiles, which is a real problem. So, therefore, what we must do is we must have a look at the other ones. Well, Jacobi's is only 120%, the Morco Maran is the 510%, and then you got Piramirski's, and it's a 540%. So nothing is really standing out as a ton of, you know, SL modifier, and at the same time, all of these vehicles are pretty fun to play, and while grinding through them, you'll make SL because they've got quite high rewards for standard vehicles. Like this one, 555% on its reward. Yes, it's 16,000 repair costs, but that 5.5 is crazy high when you look at general modifiers. When we have a look at the army there's no real good SL grinders either. You know, you've got the SDR V1030. If you want to pull your teeth out, then yes, you'll make money, but you'll pull your teeth out, so it might not be a good idea. The SAV is only at 300, so therefore it isn't at the max 420, which is what we're aiming for. And then the SDR VM39 and also the Twitch one still sits at like 30% each. So yeah, the only one which makes a little sense to go for is the Stridsvagn, but at the same time, it's like pulling teeth. So if you really want to do the Swedish, I mean, I suppose the Piramirski, but I would say there are much better options out there. The XP38G also gets a shout, but not because of its modifiers, it's just really fun to use, and a really nice aircraft to play. So yeah, that's the general premiums. If I want to make money, if I want to make SL, those are the lineups and the vehicles that I use, either in Air Realistic, Naval Arcade, or Ground Realistic. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Battling Bacon, Blackie, Chris Giltnane, Conte Baraka, Daniel Stanton, Elove Goat, Jay Wilt, Martinez, Trigger Hippie, Universe, Eugens Terry, and also I'm Devilish and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.